welcome back to the Sonic wing of the Hall of Origins. Today we're looking at one of the most popular characters in the entire Sonic fandom. So there are a ton of unique individuals running around Sega's main franchise. And no, that's not a pun. I mean, unless you want it to be. But one character's popularity has stood the test of time better than others. Princess Sally Acorn. Now, why do I say that her popularity has lasted better than others? Well, it's currently 2023, and she as a character hasn't been in the Sonic franchise in years, and yet she is still a fan favorite. I mean, wow, this princess has some longevity to be inactive for so long and still have a massive following. But how did this iconic Sonic the Hedgehog character get her start? Well, let's go back to the early 90s and take a look. So when Sonic 2 came out, it was insane. Almost everyone was in agreement that the sequel was even better than the original. If Sonic 1 made the Hedgehog popular, then Sonic 2 turned him into a phenomenon. And what do you do when a franchise makes it that big in the 90s? You make a cartoon, of course. So an animated adventure was put into production. So naturally, to round out the series, the creators wanted a main female lead/love interest for Sonic. And the first couple choices were some interesting ones. At first, it seems like they were going for a more human design. Some concept art shows a woman with pink skin and blonde hair, and another version with red hair. It would seem that this idea wasn't working, because one concept shows a message saying to make her smaller and not so human. So it looks like they changed directions to make the character more mythological, like a forest fairy or a Smurf type design. But things got on track with this design of a yellow-furred possible squirrel character. This version went by the name of Princess Acorn, and honestly wasn't too bad of a design. However, for Sally's final form, they would have to reach back into the Sonic past to get inspiration from an unlikely character. So back in Sonic 1, the main goal for our favorite hedgehog was to free the captured animals from the random badniks scattered throughout. One of these little creatures was a little brown chipmunk type animal called a Ricky. Now, the creators of the cartoon series decided to take this cute little woodland animal and incorporate it into Sally's design. Finally, the chipmunk princess that we all know and love was starting to take shape with various concept art showing the new Ricky-inspired look. And for a while, it looked like they were borrowing some of Sonic's quill design, with several drawings showing her with hedgehog-type hair. But eventually, it was decided on making her hair separate from her fur, thus giving us her final design. Well, final design for the time being anyway. Okay, so let me take a quick detour to say that around this time, when the cartoon was being worked on, Archie Comics was also putting together a series starring our little blue needle mouse. Sega, or possibly Deke Entertainment, whom was in charge of making the cartoon, shared the character bible and model sheets so Archie could make stories with the brand new characters. However, it takes just a little bit longer to make a cartoon show than it does a comic book series. Thus, Princess Sally made her big debut to the public in Sonic the Hedgehog issue 0 in November 1992, almost a full year before the cartoon aired its first episode. And with this monumental first entry in the comic series brought an orange-furred Sally Acorn with blonde hair. Now, I hear you saying, wow, why did they decide on that? Well, Paul Castiglia, former Archie editor, recalls the situation. As the comic series and the animated shows were simultaneously developed, the tight, advanced scheduling of the comic industry kept us from keeping up with last-minute changes made in the shows. This resulted in Sally being printed in various color schemes that didn't match her TV counterpart. So yeah, Sally's coloring still hadn't been decided upon, but it wouldn't take them long for the comics to choose the perfect color palette. Pink and black. Wouldn't be my first choice, but it was a choice. It's funny, they actually called attention to this in a comic short, where Princess Sally is upset for some reason, and then it's revealed it's because Sonic and friends made an article in the paper about her dyeing her hair. Awesome. The cartoon, on the other hand, also made Sally pink, but for some reason made her hair brown instead of black. Maybe it was so that they could shade it to give it more contrast. But yes, in the pilot episode, Heads or Tails, we see Sally for the first time in animation. Well, kind of. Technically, the episode Super Sonic came out first, but Heads or Tails was the first episode to be produced. But in this episode, we see Princess Sally attempting to fix the defense systems of Knothole Village.
Search databank for entry. Variable, catapult. Allow for an extra 1,000-pound capacity and begin creation.
Her voice was provided by Kath Soshi, whom voiced lots of memorable characters throughout her career. Some include Linka from Captain Planet, Phil and Lil from Rugrats, many different iterations of Kanga from Winnie the Pooh, and Lola from Space Jam, among lots of others. So, in Heads or Tails, we also get introduced to Sally's personality. It's revealed right away that even though she has the title of princess, she doesn't like to be referred to as such.
Ooh, you're really beautiful when you work, Princess Sally.
Antoine, don't call me princess. Out here, the only royalty is Mother Nature.
Her leadership abilities are also on full display, heading the attack against the Badnik invasion at the end of the episode. And this is where we first see Sally's relationship to Sonic, where it's shown that she has respect for him, but she is also annoyed by his immaturity.
I was built for speed and born for danger. Speed is my middle name and danger is my game.
This is not a game, Sonic!
Overall, it was a good episode. It served what it needed to by introducing the characters and showing what this world is all about. But before we go any further, they finally decided on a permanent color palette for Sally. She now has brown fur and auburn hair. But not only did her colors change, but her body design as well. Whereas before, she looked like this, and now she was given a little bit of a curvier appearance. And of course, back in the comics, they would give an explanation for the changes, saying that it was because she fell into a vat of chemicals, and it took forever for her to go back to her correct color. So the entire time in the comic series when she was pink, it was because of toxins. Yeah, that sounds about right. Sometimes there are a few inconsistencies, however, where some episodes she would have more orangish brown fur. My theory is that the orange was probably supposed to be her daytime colors, and the brown was meant to be for night scenes. But I guess whoever was doing the coloring in certain episodes didn't catch it or possibly didn't know about it. I'm not sure. But yes, for the most part, the comics and the cartoons were finally lining up with their designs. And over the course in Sally's animation career, this is pretty much how she stayed, with the exception of a few alterations in Season 2, giving her a blue vest and adding pupils to her eyes. So let's talk about Sonic and Sally's relationship, because it's kind of interesting. Sally was designed to be Sonic's love interest, but honestly, it's not that prominent in the show. In fact, I would say 95% of the time, it's Sonic trying to win Sally's affection and she is constantly shooting him down.
I'm supposed to apologize to him for trying to steal my girl?
I am not your girl!
Since when?
Since forever!
However, it did come into play every now and then, like in the episode Hooked on Sonics, where Sally gives Sonic a kiss, Sonic teases that it wasn't that great, and Sally challenges him to do better, and then they both kiss more passionately. You know what, this whole thing reminds me of those two characters in Kangaroo Jack, where the guy kisses the girl and is like, I'm not impressed, and then the guy is like, well, that wasn't even my best, and then she is like, well, then let's see it. Just like in Sonic, Sally acts like she's not interested when in fact she actually is. Oh my god, this video made me reference Kangaroo Jack. I never thought that would happen. So what was going on over in the comics? Well, they continued to experiment with Sally's design, sometimes changing it up to make her look more humanistic, but this is also depending on which artist was illustrating. Sometimes she would look cartoony with big over-the-top expressions, but other times she would look more realistic with more down-to-earth reactions. There was a huge variety, and when these used to come out monthly, I was always excited to see what type of art style was going to be implemented next. But probably the biggest art style change came in issue number 252, when all the characters, including Sally, went through a massive redesign to more mimic the Sonic video game look. Most fans seemed split on this. Some loved the new look, while others hated it. I'm somewhere in the middle, however. I more prefer Sally's original design, but I do appreciate them trying to unify the look of both the video games and the comics. So it just all depends on your preference, really. So how are things going over in Sonic's original medium? Did Princess Sally ever pass over into the video game world? Well, yes. In only one official game, Sonic Spinball. Often deemed one of the oddball games in the franchise, it hosts a series of mini-games in between levels. A few of these have to do with other characters from the cartoon show imprisoned inside roboticizers for Sonic to free. And of course, one of these trapped friends is Princess Sally in her pink fur and black hair design. However, there were a few cancelled games that Sally was going to appear in as well. One being Sonic 16, which was supposed to be a game based off of the cartoon series, which would have been awesome in my opinion. In a demo version, it shows Sonic making it to a large door and then greeting Sally as the door opens. Another game was Sonic Mars, where Sonic would run around 3D environments while a variety of characters would give him advice. Some concept art shows Sally in the corner box telling Sonic to hurry. Man, I would have loved to have played these games had they been released. Maybe in an alternate universe. One more thing that's worth mentioning is that Sally was a part of the Sonic characters that represented Sega World in Sydney, Australia. Yeah, if you're not familiar with these, Sega made some theme parks in various cities of the world. And Princess Sally was a prominent mascot. She had a variety of merchandise, a statue, a puppet show where she sang her own original song, and a walk-around character costume. And by the way, that's a young Christian Whitehead there, who most would know as the lead designer on Sonic Mania. They also released a soundtrack of the puppet show, but don't look for it on eBay unless you want to spend a fortune. But luckily, you can hear all the tracks here on YouTube. Princess Sally truly has longevity in the Sonic community, and now, many years after both the cartoon and the comics have ended, she still has a massive fan base who hope for her return someday. But even if she doesn't, we still have a phenomenal cartoon show and a massive amount of comics we can read. So in spirit, she never really left, and she will always be one of the most beloved Sonic characters of all time.